Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everybody to the final panel for Al Sharq Forum 2017. How are you guys doing? Good? Asleep? Okay, cool. We'll get through that. We'll get past it. That's all right. This panel I'm really quite excited about it. It's about what's next. It's about enabling young people and it's about moving forward. My name is Muhammad Hassan, not Muhammad Hassan. If you thought that the Sheikh Muhammad Hassan was about to come up and mediate, I'm sorry, it's just me, so it's okay. Shout out to Sheikh Muhammad Hassan, what's up? I have the honor and privilege of introducing 5 incredible people, but before that, I want to talk about why we're here right now on this stage. Young people are ruining everything. Listen, those are not my words, all right? That's what you'd be led to believe if all you did was go on Google and write in millennial, right? Millennial is the term that we've been given, this generation of young people. And if you go online, if you go on the news and the media, it's just constantly flooded with stories about how millennials are destroying everything. They're ungrateful, they're getting rid of traditions, and they're really have no respect for how the way things are done and the way things used to be. So here are some examples of some articles that I've come across that talk about millennials. Are millennials killing the car industry? That's from Driving Sales News, all right? Apparently, us millennials, us young people, have completely destroyed the car industry, so I apologize on behalf of them. Here's another one from Business Insider. Millennials are killing a $1 billion diet staple. Did you know that? $1 billion. That diet staple is yogurt light. All right, light yogurt, diet yogurt, we've destroyed it. We should be ashamed. Here's one more from the Wall Street Journal. How millennials ended the running boom. Personally, I didn't know there was a running boom, but we apparently destroyed it. So millennials, let's recap, are ungrateful, are destroying things that we love, and really should know better. I've gone even further, and I've compiled a list of my favorite things that millennials, young people, have killed. Cars. We've talked about cars, the car industry. Marriage, millennials have killed marriage apparently, according to the internet. Fabric softener, that's probably my fault. I'm not really good at using fabric softener. I don't know how to use it, so that's on me, guys. Lunch, millennials have killed lunch. Vacations, department stores, hotels, the Canadian tourism industry, apparently. Focus groups, trees, millennials have killed trees. The anti-aging industry. And finally, my favorite, the American dream. So millennials, us young people, this generation has killed the American dream. Now, of course, this is a little bit hysterical, but I think there's a nugget of truth in all of it. And that nugget of truth is that this generation really wants to shake things up. We're bored of the way things are done, the normalities of everything, and we want to try out new things. And we also have no problem leaving the old things in the past. So, it's a good thing because we've also been tasked with saving the world and fixing all of its problems, and boy, are there a lot of problems. Here's just a few. War, political instability, climate change, famine, disease, it's a lot. It's a lot to get your head around. So Al Sharq Forum, what they've decided to do is that they want to bring a whole bunch of people that are pioneers in their industries and assemble, if you will, the Avengers of the millennial generation. And these 5 people, all of whom are incredible and really need to be listened to, hopefully in the next 50 minutes, we're going to figure out how to fix the world. So without further ado, let me introduce to you your panel for today. If I can welcome to the stage, first up, Mr. Kaan Akin. He is a Turkish entrepreneur, he is a mechatronics engineer, and he is the founder of Hackquarters. He is also an angel investor and cares about everything to do with startups and about giving young people a leg up to get into the industry. Please give a round of applause to Mr. Kaan. Next up, we have Sumaya Abdul Qadir. She is an activist, she is a writer, a sociologist, and also a politician. She was born in Italy and also became, this year, the first ever Muslim councilwoman to be elected into office, into council in Italy, which is a huge, in Milan, my bad, which is a huge achievement. Please welcome Sumaya. Next up, we have an engineer by the name of Sireen Hamsho. She is an electrical engineer. She works for General Electric, and she is passionate. A lot of her work has to do with renewable energy, but with wind turbines and wind energy in particular. Last year, she was named among 100 women for the BBC's list of 100 women. She's an innovator, she is an inventor, she's award-winning. Please welcome up Sireen. Our next guest is Malia Bouatia. She comes to us from London. She is a social activist, she's an academic, and last year she was elected to the presidency of the National Union of Students. She became the first woman of color and the first Muslim woman to hold that title, which is a big deal. Please give Malia a round of applause. And last but not least, we have Riyad Minty. He is a media pioneer. A lot of you guys are familiar with him and his work. Of course, he was one of the founders of AJ Plus, which needs no introduction. And most recently, he became one of the starting members and leaders of TRT World's digital team. He also happens to be my boss, so please give him a really big round of applause. This is Riyad. Welcome all our panelists, and of course, welcome everybody who is here tonight and everybody that's watching us at home over our live stream. We will, at the end of the panel, have time for questions with our panelists, both here within the audience and online. And if you would like to join us online and send us a question, and please do send us a question, you can do that by going to the hashtag, which is SharqConf17, which is hashtag SharqConf17. That's right, guys? Awesome. All right, and our beautiful social team will relay those questions to us, right? Without further ado, we have a massive task in front of us. We don't have a lot of time to fix the world, as I mentioned. We've introduced all of these people that are on stage tonight. They're all pioneers in their own fields. We know what they do, but I want to know how they think. I want to know what they're thinking about. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to begin by asking them to tell me what's keeping them up at night. What is the thing that is on their minds? What is the thing that they're most concerned about right now? So we will begin with Sireen Hamsho. Sireen, in the field of innovation and invention, what's keeping you up at night right now?
Well, I'm glad you asked me this question. Too many things that keep me up at night. Probably the most one of them is my one-year-old baby. And the other thing is that we are living the technological revolution, and I'm glad that every one of the speakers who took the stage today and yesterday, he mentioned this fact. But the question is how to be a revolutionist, how to jump into this revolution, which is very similar to the Industrial Revolution that happened in the 17th, except that the Industrial Revolution was led by only 5, 6, 7 men like Vanderbilt, Morgan, Ford, Carnegie, Rockefellers. This revolution only needs idea and a laptop. And to be more specific, you need an idea and internet. Some people might argue that funding is one of the problems. Funding is not the first thing. If you have a strong idea, you will find funding for it. Actually, the businessmen and women who are sitting in the first row here are ready to fund you if you have a strong idea. And just a matter of fact, companies in Singapore are losing and failing because of too much funding. So it's not the question. So 3 facts that I would like to shed the light on today. But before I start, I'm glad that you mentioned innovation and invention. Let me ask, how many engineers do we have in the room today? كم مهندس موجود اليوم معنا في هذه الغرفة? Please raise your hand. You're the best. Those are my thanks. Over there. Let me ask you a question for you and for the audience as well. What's the difference between invention and innovation? ما هو الفرق بين الإبداع وبين الاختراع? Invention is turning money into ideas. الاختراع أن تحول المال إلى فكرة. Innovation is turning ideas into money. الإبداع أن تحول الأفكار إلى مال. Why Thomas Edison took all the credits for the light bulb, although he's not the guy who invented the light bulb, and many of you know this? Because he commercialized it. He made it affordable for every average American to get a light bulb. And this is the mindset that we need to adopt in our region. So fact number one, we need to differentiate between invention and between innovation. Fact number two, this technological revolution is your playground, youth. This technological revolution, unfortunately or fortunately, the senior or traditional business men and women, the business shark, will never understand this. You know why? Because they don't have the tools to think about this. They don't use to think virtually. When you give an idea to a businessman, he immediately thinks about physical thing. He thinks about manufacture. He thinks about ships coming back and forth from China to the Middle East. Technological revolution is about virtual market. The world is yours. So this is the fact number two. Fact number three, look at the stable market. I'm going to give an example since I'm working at GE, so I'm going to use GE as an example here. A stable, very strong company, one of the biggest in the world, with over 100,000 employees. It's 25 years old in the market. Let's compare it with Alibaba. شو بيبيع Alibaba? Nothing. Company, 16 or 19 years old, 20,000 employees only. The revenue of Alibaba is $165 billion. The revenue of GE last year was $125 billion. So you can understand how the virtual market does. The same example with Airbnb, Uber, and the other WhatsApp now with Facebook. Amazon. Amazon actually has some real products, but Uber, for example, they don't have any taxi. Airbnb, the largest accommodation company in the world, they have no real estate. So this is the second fact. The third fact, and I quote from Steve Jobs, if you can be a pirate, why to join the Navy? And I would add, if you know how to swim, don't mind be a diver. إذا كنت تعرف السباحة لا تمانع أن تغوص. الفرق بين الشباب وبين المؤسسات كالفرق بين القراصنة وقبطان السفن. Difference between, let's say, the startups and the big companies are the difference similar to the Somalian pirates versus the cruise captain. What's the difference between them? Both of them have the same skills. The pirates, small boats, few guns, but great benefit from attack. The last thing that I'd like to mention here, which is a word for the businessmen and businesswomen who are sitting in front of me, please invest in the youth. The youth have a quick adaptation. They love experience. They are limitless. And that's why companies like Apple, they moved from B2B business to B2C business because they want to invest in the youth. So that's actually what keeps me up at night. In a nutshell.
Thank you very much for that, Sirine. I want to move to Khan while we're staying in the field of innovation and entrepreneurship and young people as well. What is keeping you up at night?
I can count myself very lucky because just last year I received more than 4,000 applications from, you might say, early stage startups with different programs, with our own accelerator, the accelerator we are doing with İşbank, the investment group that we have. And when you receive 4,000 applications, not necessarily just from Istanbul or Turkey, you see that a lot of people trying to do good all around the world. And it is really hard for me because I'm a human being. I have 24 hours as much as we have. And unfortunately, I cannot help all of them. But knowing that everybody is trying to do something in their own domain keeps me excited. So most of the nights, I'm trying to find ways, how can I increase my impact for larger audiences? Because you need to help those people. They have the ideas, they have the potential to do it, they can leverage it. Only something that I would say to Shirin is, I know why she's saying that you need an idea and a laptop. I must focus more on the laptop side, because basically everybody, especially in Turkey, have the idea. I mean, it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing, but this startup revolution will be owned by the people who are executing this stuff. You can find the ideas all over the world. Our generation, the millennials, the biggest difference between us and the rest of the human history is right now you can at the same time read something about what's happening in Mexico, read something what Apple is going to do next year, and you can participate in what has been doing, what's been built in the world, and it is really excited. So every idea, every kind of functions swirling ourselves, so we need to find the best, and we need to develop ourselves to do even better. So basically, knowing that everybody is trying to do something all over the world, not just in Turkey, keeps me at night. I'm trying to find more ways to impact those people, try to invest in them, or try to leverage my network or any kind of business professional life to make their dreams come true. Because what I really like being entrepreneurship, there is a saying about entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs see the world not as it is, but it should be. So basically every innovation around the corner, somebody thinks that it should have been done from the first place. When you go and talk with a young kid who hasn't seen any kind of landline, he wouldn't even understand why we had those kind of stuff, because having mobile it's our nature. We are mobile people, so we go back and forth, and all of the innovation comes to our lives. Basically, this is how I see it.
Thank you very much, Khan. I want to pick up on what you said with regards to innovators seeing ideas, or seeing the world not as it is, but as it should be.
Yeah.
And I want to move to you, Malia, because when you were elected into the National Union of Students, you came in with quite a strong, a series of political messages that were very different to where the political situation in the UK was at the time, in some ways where it still is now. What is keeping you up at night right now? You like that segue? I did. The microphone on?
Hello, can you hear me? Assalamu alaikum. Are you all still awake? You ready for Marcel? Yes, okay, great. Just before answering your question, I just want to say a quick thank you to Sharq for inviting me to share my experiences and advice with future activists and just badass young people, basically. And especially to the incredible sisters who have been running around all around the world trying to get us speakers here to speak on such important and crucial topics, and to all the volunteers that have made this incredible idea come true, and to the one that's been running around with me, Hussein. I don't know where you are, but thank you so much. So what keeps me up at night? Mainly the total fear and worry about the direction of travel for the world that we live in today. That in some ways we're moving towards a world of extreme binaries, a world where the division between rich and poor is becoming stronger, between oppressor and oppressed, between first-class and second-class citizen, exploiter and the exploited, occupier and the occupied. And what stops me from drifting into blissful, pleasant dreams is the thought that Islamophobia has actually become an industry now. And states worldwide are actually capitalizing from political events through the development of various racist and repressive policies that target Muslims first and foremost, but in reality serve to clamp down on all dissent, on all political activity, and intend to curtail the civil liberties of all people. Muslims may be the dish served on the menu today, but history has shown us that all communities will be swept into the hate that is being peddled across the world, from Europe with fascists and neo-Nazis being elected to governments, to the US with Trump, no further explanation there, to the treatment of our brothers and sisters in Burma and beyond. And every day I'm driven by the need to do whatever that I can do to fight the injustice and oppression wherever it manifests. It's what led me to run for the position often reserved for white non-Muslim men who historically have also ended up leading our country. And my time as president of 7 million students in the United Kingdom was exactly what you would expect from 95 years of them never ever seeing a woman of color, a Muslim, and a refugee in a very public position. It was that of institutional racism, where the media would paint me as an ISIS sympathizer for daring to question why the UK's counter-terrorism strategy finds 4-year-olds who misspell at school to be suspects of terrorism. And because I dare to call them out on their complicity in the occupation of Palestine, and therefore I am banded an anti-Semite worldwide. Because of my identity in the politics of liberation, justice, and equality that I hold, powerful institutions in the UK will not look at my achievements and the movements that I have helped build alongside such incredible young people worldwide. They needed a character assassination, and they went to every possible point to get it. And the reason that I mention this is because I have to share my insomnia with you all so that you stay up alongside so many of us who are fighting for social justice globally to make sure that I'm not the last Muslim president of the National Union of Students, of any other position in public office. We need infrastructure locally and internationally. We need support, we need resources, and we need the community, alongside celebrating our successes, which we must absolutely do, to also sustain our work and to help us to more than just survive in these institutions, but to succeed in our aims and to lay a true legacy that sustains our work. Solidarity is an urgency, and it must be extended without compromise, without buts, and without clauses, and without the question of what is in it for me. When our judgment comes, I doubt that we'll be asked, did you actually free Palestine? Did you take down all the tyrants? Did you save all the innocent lives? Did you stop all the migrants drowning at sea or dying in camps and detention centers? But rather, did we try? We don't always see the fruits of our labor in our lifetime, but it shouldn't be the driving force. If we do, then alhamdulillah. But if not, then future generations will benefit, and they will build on the foundations that we lay out, providing that they are built on progressive ones. And finally, I'll leave you with the words of Brother Malcolm X, who said, "Power in defense of freedom is greater than power on behalf of tyranny and oppression, because power, real power, comes from our conviction and produces action, uncompromising action." Thank you.
Thank you very much for those very well put words, Malia. Now, Malia actually has a colleague here on the panel, and with the regards of somebody that has had to fought enormous amounts of opposition, then the same kind of Islamophobic rhetoric, and ended up being a representative for her community as a Muslim woman, and as one of the first Muslim women to do so. And before I turn it over to Sumaya, I'd just like to tell you guys that she will be speaking for the majority of the part in Arabic. So if you are a non-Arabic speaker, you can grab one of the headsets to the side just to make sure you don't miss her words. So Sumaya, I turn things over to you. What is keeping you up at night?
السلام عليكم جميعا. شكرا. أول شيء أشكر منتدى الشرق للدعوة وجميع الحضور إنه يعني حيسمع لنا، وأشكر يعني فعلا على هذه الفرصة اللي بتسمح لنا إنه نتبادل الآراء وإنه نسمع لبعض. وأول شيء إنه نعرف إنه في شباب وشابات كثيرة شغالة وفعالة في كل العالم وفي كل المجالات، وهذا مهم جدا. ليش؟ لأنه بيسمح لنا أول شيء إنه نعرف إنه من أولاد العرب نقول هيك في خير كبير وفي نشاط كبير ودائما يعني بيحاولوا انه يقولوا انه الشباب العرب او اولاد الدياسبورا هم في عندهم مشاكل ومشاكل ومشاكل، ودائما مهمومين بالمشاكل الدنيا وما بيجي منهم شيء، بل بالعكس بيجي منهم أكبر خير، ويعني أملنا كتير كبير بالمستقبل من هذا الطرف. فإيش هو اللي ما بخليني أنام بالليل؟ كم ساعة عنا عشان نشرح الموضوع؟ هو في شغلات كتير. 20 دقيقة؟ طيب. الأمور كثيرة. طبعاً أنا عملي بالمجال الاجتماعي الثقافي والسياسي بالأغلب. والآن من سنة تقريباً بدأت هذا الاكسبيرينس. حتى طبعاً في عندي كلمات بعرفها بالعربي وما بعرفها بالإنجليزي والعكس، فحستعمل اللغتين سامحوني، لأنه هي لغة الأم اللغة الإيطالية. أوكي. طبعاً في مواضيع حسب كل مجال تختلف الهموم اللي ما بتخليني أنام فيها بالليل. مثلاً عندكم المجال الاجتماعي. من سنة أنا دخلت المجلس بلدية ميلانو. هو ممكن نعتبر ميلانو أهم مدينة في إيطاليا كلها، خاصة من الناحية الاقتصادية والثقافية. فاكتشفت شغلات مؤلمة جدا في مدينتنا اللي هي أهم مدينة تقريبا بعد روما في إيطاليا بالمجال الاجتماعي. اكتشفت إنه في مئات العائلات ما عندها بيوت، في مئات الأشخاص حتى ممكن نقول ألفات عندهم صعوبات إنه يوصلوا لآخر الشهر مع كل الاحتياجات اللي عندهم. واكتشفت كم من الأشخاص بيناموا بالشوارع. طبعاً هاي كل شغلات بنعرفها، إحنا نسمع عنها نشوفها من بعيد، بس لما بنقرب عليها وبنعرف القصص اللي وراها ونتعرف على الأشخاص كل شيء بيختلف. وطبعاً همنا الكبير إنه نقدر نلاقي حلول لمشاكل كثيرة. فهذه المشاكل كبيرة وكثيرة وتحتاج إلى حلول. طبعاً هذه الحلول صعبة مش سهلة بالمرة، لأنه تتداخل مواضيع يعني كثيرة ما بتسمح إنه دائماً واحد يلاقي الطريق المباشر للحلول، ولكن واحد بيعطي كل جهده، بحط كل جهده عشان يحاول إنه يلبي الطلبات الموجودة. هموم كمان من الناحية السياسية هي إنه أول شيء مثل ما تفضلت أنا واجهت مشاكل كثيرة فترة الانتخابات ومن بعد، لأنه طبعاً أنا كوني أول مسلمة بتحاول تدخل مجلس بلدية وأكبر وأهم بلدية في إيطاليا كمسلمة محجبة وبنت مغتربين فلسطينيين الأصل، أردنيين فلسطينيين، يعني كل المشاكل موجودة فيه. طبعاً ممكن تتصوروا كل الأطراف قامت وهبت على سمية. فطبعاً من الناحية العنصرية، الإسلاموفوبيا، الموضوع الجندر، موضوع اللي بدكم إياه حطوه. فهذا كان مو بس ما يخليني أنام بالليل، يعني حتى ما أرتاح بالنهار ولا شيء. كأول تجربة كانت صعبة جدا، بس بعدين واحد صار يفكر إنه يعني واحد ليش يضيع وقته يتعب نفسه ويعيط ويبكي يعيط ويبكي، يعني في حسب اللهجة ممكن إلها معنى تانية. فواحد بده يكون عنده برنامج، بده يكون عنده رؤية واضحة، ويكون عنده أهداف واضحة جدا عشان يقدر يتجاوز المشاكل ويحاول إنه يعني يعطي حلول قوية. فموضوع تاني بهمني كتير وهم كتير كبير، إنه صعب واحد يخلي الشباب يندمجوا بموضوع السياسة. الشباب بفكروا يصيروا مهندسين، دكاترة وشغلات كثيرة، وهو مهم جدا ولازم يكون هذا موجود، بس يعني أقلية اللي بتفكر إنه تدخل مجال السياسة، مع إنه السياسة مهمة جدا، لأنه إذا سياسة بلد مثلا ما بتدعم موضوع التكنولوجيا وموضوع الانوفيشن وكل هذه الامور ما لهم لزوم اصلا. فالشغلتين لازم يشتغلوا مع بعض، لازم تنمي مع بعض، مو واحده تروح بسرعه والثانيه تضلها تحت الارض. فهذا موضوع مهم جدا. ويعني شغالة على هذا كمان، إنه نحاول نتكلم مع الشباب ونعمل لهم دورات ونفهمهم يعني أهمية السياسة. طبعا أنا ما بتكلم بس عن الشاب العربي أو المسلم، هذا الموضوع يعني يهم الجميع. طبعا أنا لما رشحوني وبدأت الانتخابات، أول شغلة قلتها وحرجع أحكيها هون لأنه بالنسبة لي مهم جدا. أنا ما دخلت السياسة عشان أكون representative يعني للمسلمين فقط. أنا موجودة في هذا المجال ونزلت في هذه الساحة عشان أحل مشاكل الناس كلها، مسلم أو غير مسلم، عربي أو غير عربي. طبعا أنا بكوني مسلمة ممكن أفهم أكثر من غيري احتياجات ومشاكل المسلمين وأعطي أكثر عشان يعني أمشي في طريق ممكن يحل المشاكل. ولكن أهم إشي، وهذا مهم جدا في بلد صار متعدد الجنسيات والباك جراوند، انه الواحد يفهم انه العمل اللي بيعمله هو للجميع، هو الخير للجميع. وهذه نقطة مهمة يعني هي بتقودني في أي شيء أنا بعملها. شكرا.
شكرا سمية. So Sumaya spoke about the idea of engaging young people in politics and getting them to care not just about engineering and science and medicine, but also about getting engaged in their communities, running for office in some cases, but also being politically aware. And I want to pivot to our final speaker, and on that issue of getting young people to care about the news, which at one point in time seemed like it was never going to happen. It was useless because people didn't care. What the current online news network, and was led by AJ Plus, proved otherwise, is that people do care. So I want to ask you, Riyadh, what is keeping you up at night right now?
So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So for me, trying to answer this question, you asked us a few days ago, has been keeping me up at night. Because I have my former bosses and colleagues sitting here, and I have my new bosses and colleagues sitting here. So trying to navigate those two worlds is interesting. For me, a lot of it is after this, and after the success of something like AJ Plus, it's always been what's next. And that's a question that I get asked everywhere I go. Every person that I meet, always what's next? AJ Plus did this, but what's next? What's coming next? If I can get an indication from the room, how many of you have watched or know of AJ Plus? There you go. And how many of you have heard of TRT World? Okay. So there's still a lot we need to do to catch up to that. But so those of you who haven't, go and like our page on Facebook and follow us.
Nice
that's
plug,
a good
man.
way to know.
That's all the TRT World stuff that are clapping,
Exactly.
by the way.
Our logo looks like the, anyway. So, I mean, for me, what's next? It's getting into media has always been a personal thing for me. I dropped out of university after my first year. I started a technology company in South Africa. Media and journalism was never really an interest space for me. It was more about a sense of identity. That happened for me kind of, I was in my last year of high school when 9/11 happened. And I kind of felt frustrated by the world speaking on my behalf and telling my story as a Muslim versus me being able to tell my own stories. You know, this was way back in 2001 when the first camera phones were coming out. But the potential of technology to connect people around different spaces, different ideas, has always been something that's dear to me. And that's something that I've always tried to bring into the work and the projects that we've taken on. But what really keeps me up at night is trying to answer this question of what's next. And for me, I mean, everyone knows about AJ Plus. Everyone has seen the success of it. It's got, you know, I guess tens of billions of views around the world. But yet, the world isn't getting any better. We have more information than we've ever had before. We have more access to information than we've ever had before. We have people on the ground who are being killed, bombed, shot at, chemical attacks, famine, every possible thing being recorded in real time and posted online. yet we seem to be getting further and further away as humanity. And this information age, this access to information, this access to everything that was promised us through this decentralized network, that even when we tried to start AJ Plus, that we promised that we'd get to this space to start conversations, hasn't happened yet. We still seen crisis after crisis after crisis at our doorsteps. And you know, when you asked me this question, it was something that is really sitting on my mind, and it took me back to one example when I traveled to the Dab when I was at Al Jazeera with and a few people back in, I guess it was 2011, shortly after the Arab Spring. And we went into the Dadaab refugee camp, and this was a space where people were leaving the famine in Somalia at the time. People had to choose which of their children they would leave behind because they didn't have enough energy to get to the camp. And those who made it to the camps were the most lucky ones that got there. And just imagine having to choose which child to leave behind on the side of the road. And just from there, we spent a day in Dadaab. We got on a flight. An hour later, we're in Nairobi, staying in a 5-star hotel, going out having a buffet meal. And you know, just this 4-star hotel. Sorry, it was a 4-star hotel. But having this full-on buffet meal, you know, all the food we could eat, just an hour flight away, when an hour earlier, we seen people who had nothing. And this is the world we live in. I mean, right here, I was sitting in the Hilton having our buffet meals. Walk 100 meters outside. There are Syrian children who are refugees who are sitting outside, coming up asking for lira. And this is the world we live in right now. And have we become so numb that these things don't impact us anymore, that we like, we share, we think we've done our duty, we think we've built AJ Plus, we think we work for all these big media corporations, we think we're doing all of these things, but what change is it actually bringing? And for me, that's what keeps me up at night. And that's the answer is what's next? What role does media play in moving us forward as humanity? It's not enough just to put information out there anymore, because putting information is not enough. I mean, we're not seeing that change. We're not seeing tangible impact. How can we create a conversation? How can we create these spaces? How can we go back to what does it mean to be human? How can we get out of this like cycle, out of our echo chambers, out of this just sharing something and thinking we've done our bit? And that's something I don't have the answer for yet. You know, and this is something that, you know, we all kind of need to figure out. I know a lot of you are working in media, and, you know, my panelists here probably have better answers than I do, but it's a collective responsibility, as you said. I mean, it's something that sits on all of our shoulders, regardless of whether you're working for a big media organization, whether you're an individual, wherever you sit. It's about what are we going to do to actually have tangible change in the world, because we need it. And we need it now more than ever. It's the largest humanitarian crisis in our lifetime. And it's something that, yeah, I think, as you said, it's something that should be keeping all of us up at night, not just me.
Thank you for that, Riyadh. So that is a very important question. We know what's happening. We know all the problems in the world. So how do we actually fix them? Before directing a question back to the panel, I just want to say that we are going to be taking a few questions. So in a few minutes, so please get them ready. So they're ready to go and to shoot at the panel, figure out what you want to say and who you want to say it to. But turning awareness into action, Malia, as an activist, how do you do that? How do you go about making people do things now that they know what's going on?
I think the reality is that many people are doing many things. There are movements internationally. If any of us in this room looked at what is going on the ground locally, what organizations are working on migrant solidarity, on stopping migrants from being deported by the hour, who are supporting anti-racist struggles, taking on the government on its hugely endorsed policies and so on, that is all happening on the ground, and that's the reality. Often that, like you said, we'll sit in rooms like this and say, what should we do? What should we start? Often those ideas have already been put into practice. Those movements exist, but like I said, the resources are not directed there. That, often we have talked about Syrian refugees across this conference. How about bringing some of those voices that are quite literally taking on that struggle currently onto this platform to get some tangible resources and support, whether it's legal, whether it's financial, whether it's media solidarity. It comes in so many different shapes and forms, and I think that if we look at the media, there is often a desire to cover. And I see some journalists sometimes when I'm out, like in a protest or something, they say, "Oh, I'm really frustrated. People just won't comment to me because they distrust journalists." And I think, like, okay, I understand it's frustrating, but no offense, we're trying to lead a movement here. And, you know, because you can't get a quick soundbite from us, that is not the point of this movement right now. We need you to cover it and sustain it, but not at the cost of us stopping what we're doing in real life. And also understand that there is a reason for that distrust, that there has been such levels of political assassination. Groups through the facilitation of the state have been infiltrated, have been destroyed. You know, we only have to look back at anti-colonialist movements in many of our nations. How have they been depicted? The Black Panther Party, Black Lives Matter, like all these, you know, up until now, social movements are not depicted in positive form. And even if they stand in the form of political figures like Jeremy Corbyn in the Labour Party, it doesn't matter that no one in the history of politics in the United Kingdom has received such overwhelming love and trust from the people. That there's never been this level of engagement by young people in a political system that they otherwise thought deeply corrupt and exclusive, and yet the media depictions are far from that reality. So I think that it's for institutions to get with the times and to actually to support the movements on the ground, as opposed to seeing how they can benefit them, how they can further their careers in journalism, in politics, in any area really.
That point that you make about organizations on the ground that are people that are doing the work and people that are lacking resources in some instances, Khan, somebody like you who essentially operates in an area of finding resources for people that are doing work, and that could be in political arenas, it could be in economic arenas. What do you look for when you're trying to find people to give resources to?
I mean, we are quite lucky because all of the economic systems are on the edge of change. We are talking about Bitcoin. I mean, you might think that Bitcoin is for kids, but throughout humankind, we had money, and currencies and the monies belong to nations or countries. Now we have something called Bitcoin. It's a big economy, much larger than most of the countries all around the world. Still, it doesn't belong to any nation, any country, so we can see that economical side is also shifting aside. And with the technologies like blockchain or crowdfunding, the most exciting thing for me is right now, if you want to do something great, and if you can find enough supporters all around the world, the countries you've never been to, the languages where you will never speak of, but people can send you 1 lira, $5, 10 euros, whatever. So if you have a good idea or good will to deliver something, it is really possible for you to find maybe $100 million today in one day. It happened. So this is the good side of, on the economical side, we can actually reach out to everyone in the world. It's much easier to listen to other people's stories, but also it is getting harder and harder because everybody is trying to tell you another story. Because, for example, the stories that we talked about refugees, yes, in all of the main media sites, you can hear about the stories, but still, there are some people trying to watch football. There are some people trying to watch some models doing their fashion stage. So a lot of things getting crowded. So it is really hard to filter out what is important to your heart or what you feel. So what I'm really seeing the problem for us, maybe for like 5 to 7 years, which things to listen or which things to watch. So it is going to be a next challenge for us. But on the other side, raising money, funding, I think it haven't been such easier in our age. It is going to become easier even. But since we have this kind of good side on our economics, a lot of people are trying to scam the same channels that we are using today. We hear like 80% of initial coin offerings that, as we say, to raise the money using blockchain are scams right now. People are gathering the money and leaving the country or just leaving the IP addresses and go. So it is getting harder and harder, and this new economical systems will not be under maybe countries, nationalities, or super organizations. So I'm also expecting a shift in the power holders. Maybe in 10, 20 years, we will see how it will be. But on my side, it is quite feasible for anyone who are trying to raise some attention or money or awareness for any kind of cause. It is available, at least in our times. So basically, you can do whatever you are trying to do if you have the potential to execute it. That's why I was just saying that idea is not enough, because execution is always blood, sweat, and tears. This is what we always say. I know how long, how hard you are going to work. And honestly, while talking about business and seeing all these ladies who have been done the things that I cannot even think myself doing it, so I'm overwhelmed the idea that I can just help a little bit of what can be done in this panel, actually.
Well, let's turn over to the audience and to people online for questions. I think we should start with an e-question. Is the social team ready with a question from the internet?
Can I just comment, because I see there's objection here. So
Yes, actually. No, please do.
So just to mention something, of course, the ideas themselves are not enough. This is for sure. But the question is, do we need all these ideas? If you happen to go to any of GE company in the world, the first thing that you will see in the lobby is a big picture for Thomas Edison with his very famous saying, and I quote, "I find out what the world needs, then I proceed to invent it." So I started from the need.
Exactly.
How do we define the need? This is the question.
True.
I'm not going to spend time, so probably we can...
Let's have the question. Maybe if we will have time, maybe we'll talk about the disruption.
That's a good point. And I have a feeling we're going to be returning to this point. Let's go to the social team. What's our question from the internet?
Yes, so there is a question which links to what Sirine just mentioned. It is, how do we manage between starting movements and working on our dreams as opposed to reinventing the wheel?
Okay, so that's invention versus innovation again. Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
So how do we manage between starting movements and working on our dreams as opposed to reinventing the wheel?
Right, so I'm going to direct that at you. How do we balance between ideas and dreams that we have and reinventing the wheel? So the idea of creating things that don't exist yet versus innovating on what's already there.
So if I understood your question well, there's always a gap between the ideas or the invention and innovation. So the question is how to balance between the ideas and without reinventing the wheel. There's a term in innovation.
While inventing the wheel, I think both. Being able to do both at the same time, being able to see things that aren't there, to create things that are new, but also to reinvent the wheel. Like, where is the balance between them? What should we be reaching for?
So 2 points that just came to my mind while you were asking this question. The first thing, that we need to study the market. It's nice to have an ideas, but we need to see the art is to see if they are in the market or not. So we start from there. There is a very famous saying for one of the professors that I really admire at the MIT. He said that if you had an idea today, you have to implement it yesterday. So that means that you need either to act fast or kill it fast. There's no time to waste. Why Uber is now the largest company in the world? Because they started from an idea, and it's more like a dream. I don't know if you know the story, I believe that you know the story of Garrett Camp. He was with the other CEO, I think his name is Travis. They were in Paris in the midnight, and whoever visited Paris, you know that it's very difficult to find a taxi in Paris. And he was drunk, or he was going to the nightclub or something like that, and he was looking for a cab. And he said, "I wish I can do this," and a taxi showed up. So this is I wish, we call it the X moment, or the Eureka moment. بالعربي بنقولها وجدتها. He started from this moment. So it was a dream, but there was a need for it. So he implemented, and now Uber is Uber.
Wow,
So,
well put. Turning dreams into realities.
Can I just add to that? Because
Yes,
I
you can.
heard the word movement, and that's like the trigger word for me. I think for me, it's a question of intention. So what is your desire to do something about something? And I think we always have to come back to this, and our faith is a perfect example of that. It reminds us to renew our intentions, whether it's through the month of Ramadan, but that we're supposed to exercise this every single day of our lives in relation to everything that we do. What is the reason I want to do this? Is it because I want my name all over the newspapers? Because I want to be seen to be the leader of whatever this is? Or is it because I see that there's a problem in society that desperately needs fixing, and I want to organize as many people to be able to change that and to create a world, a better world than the one that we live in currently? So I think it always comes back to intention. So it's not about necessarily having to Google whether a movement in relation to this particular aspect or organization exists, but rather if you connect to the social realities on a grassroots, you start to find who is doing the work and who you're going to team up with to help elevate and amplify those efforts, as opposed to obsessing about making a legacy and a name for yourself, which has often been, in all honesty, the destruction of many movements.
Thank you. I think we have one time for just one quick question from the audience. So I think this gentleman over here, the microphone is making its way to you, sir. There might be one more. Hopefully we can get time for it. But just please, sir, try and make it as concise as possible. We'll try and get through it. Thank you.
Yes, very precisely. I want to generally ask about the limits and also the possibilities of our human endeavor. The title of this session is Enabled Youth. So how far can we get enabled, and how far can we get discouraged by what's happening? For example, there is the butterfly effect theory, and we know that, for example, the First World War happened because a stupid guy killed and assassinated the Serbian official in Sarajevo, and then we know from other incidents that at the end there are power structures, interest hierarchies, things we cannot change overnight or even over centuries. So between these two and along the continuum of the human endeavor, how can you comment and reflect upon this? Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that might be a good way to wrap up, actually. If I can go to you individually to tell me what you think the limits of human possibilities are, and the limits of these youth, in as concise as you can. If you can say it in a sentence, go ahead. I will start with you, Riyadh.
I don't think we have limits. I think that there's a lot that we can do, but it boils down to, as everyone mentioned, I think it's execution. I think having the idea, but actually showing up every day and doing the work, I think that's where our limitations come in. If you keep on showing up, if you keep on trying, if you put in the hard work, roll up your sleeves and don't be afraid of failure. Too often, especially amongst the youth, is we'll try something, one door will be closed, and we'll give up, or we won't carry on pursuing that dream. If you are passionate about something, keep on pushing, keep on trying, keep on doing. Fail, and you're only going to learn from your mistakes, and you'll get better with each and every iteration, and that's when you're going to reach skill. I look at my example. I was from South Africa, college dropout. I grew up working in my father's business, and now I'm sitting on a stage in Istanbul after having lived in different countries, and I followed my passion, and I wasn't scared to make those mistakes. And I think every startup, everyone that you speak to amongst youth who've been successful has just been that, putting in the time, putting in the effort, and not being scared of failure.
Sumaya, if you can have the final word in a sentence, what are the limits of what young people can achieve?
أنا بنفس فكرة رياض، يعني ما في حدود، لأنه أصلاً الإنسان له آلاف السنين موجود وضله يتطور. فهذا بيعني إنه إحنا ممكن يضل عنا طموحات عشان نحسن وجودنا في هذا الكون. طبعاً الحلم لوحده ما بكفي، لأنه الحلم إشي هيك يعني بطير بالسماء، ما إله مش كونكريت، يعني مش شيء موجود ممكن نمسكه أو نشوفه بالحقيقة. فالأحلام هي لازم تتطبق، وعشان تتطبق بدها أهداف وبدها برامج وبدها ناس تشتغل عليه، وعشان يكون في ناس تشتغل عليه لازم تكون في فكرة موحدة أو على الأقل يعني منتشرة عشان واحد يقدر يمشي على هذا الطريق. فأكيد ما في حدود. هو يمكن الشغلة الوحيدة اللي لازم ننتبه عليها هي مبادئ والقيم الإنسانية. هاي الوحيدة اللي لازم تعطينا خط أحمر ما نتجاوزه عشان ما نأذي حدا تاني.
So the limits of possibility are endless for young people, but the two important things to have are practical steps and a strong moral base, which is a very beautiful way to end things. And as you can see, we have 5 pioneers from entirely different fields that were able to have this conversation. I encourage you to keep having this conversation, especially with people outside of your circles, outside of your own fields. And that concludes the panel, and it concludes the last panel for our Sharq Forum. I would like to thank our amazing panelists. I would like to thank the audience and everybody watching online. Thank you guys, and thank you to our Sharq Forum for having us.